Now, here's Ed Bernstein.
Many of you don't realize that I have magical talents and I have skills. And I am going to magically make Lance Burton reappear.
Here he is.
How about that, man?
Ed, how are you?
Hi, Lance.
Glad to see you
You taught
again.
me that trick years ago.
The what?
You taught me that one years ago.
Oh, you learned that from seeing my show. Yeah,
First show.
and I haven't seen you in like 5 years. I've been on your show many, many, many times
Yeah.
over the years, but the last 5 years I've been
Yes.
hanging out at home.
Yeah, and no, you have a movie, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment.
Excellent.
But you were performing at you opened the Monte Carlo
Yes.
Theater, this spectacular multi-million-dollar theater. How many years ago was that?
That was June 21st, 1996. So that'd be 19
Almost
years
20.
ago.
Oh,
Yeah, almost 20 years.
Wow. And performed there practically every night for, what, 15 years?
Yeah, 14 years.
14.
14 years, 2 months, and 2 weeks, but who's counting?
Oh, wow. And
5,508 shows.
And then, I mean, look, I know it's a lot of work and it's hard to do that every night, but a lot of us are heartbroken when you left. I mean, you had the staple of the most incredible magic show, day in and day out. It was such a dependable show. I mean, you could bring guests from out of town, you could bring children, I can go myself and be entertained. It was just a wonderful show, and then you were gone.
Well, you're very kind. Thank you. And I had a wonderful time. And you're right. I always tried to make the show a family-friendly show, something where people felt comfortable coming to the show, bringing their kids, bringing their mother, bringing their grandmother to the show. And we had obviously Americans, English-speaking people, but we also had Chinese and Japanese and people from South America. And it was you know, I always went straight down the middle. I tried to appeal to a broad spectrum.
Now, I still have a couple Lance Burton magic kits
Oh.
that my kids have. Are those collector's items?
Those are collector's items now. They're not making those anymore.
I could sell them on eBay, right?
That's right.
But most importantly, because you haven't been just retired over the last 5 years, this man has been working, creating, co-writing, producing, and starring in a movie.
There it is. There's the poster.
Is this, which camera are we on here?
Billy
Billy
Topit, Master
Topit.
Magician. This was a very long process getting this movie to being finished and getting to opening night. It actually started when I was a kid. I was about 13 years old. Bill Bixby had a television series called The Magician.
Right.
And he played a stage magician who helped people and solved mysteries. And as a kid who was crazy about magic, why, this was the greatest television show ever. Every week there was a guy on TV, you know, doing magic and performing and solving mysteries. And
He was kind of like a Sherlock Holmes,
Yeah,
intuitive character.
Yeah, and he would use his magic skills to sort of aid him.
Right.
So that was what sort of planted the seed in my mind. Now we fast forward to the mid-'80s. I'm at the Tropicana Hotel here in Vegas. I get cast in Knight Rider, starring David Hasselhoff. They had an episode where they had a magician character who also happened to be an assassin on the side. So that was me. So I go and we do the show, and it's a fantastic experience. Now, the magic advisor on the Bill Bixby series was a very famous magician named Mark Wilson. He was also the magic advisor on the Knight Rider episode I was on. So Mark and I became friends, and we were talking about the Bill Bixby thing. And one day after filming, he looks at me and he says, "Lance, how do you like doing this work? How do you like doing this?" And I said, "Oh, Mark, I'm having the time of my life." The
movies.
Knight Rider episode.
Right.
I said, I get to do magic, I get to act, I get to run, I get to work with the stunt guys. This is fantastic. And he says to me, "Well, you're doing a good job. You should think about doing more of this." And I went, "What are you talking about?" He says, "Try to come up with an idea of a series or something, you know, to combine magic and storytelling." And so he sort of planted the seed in my mind at that point to really seriously start thinking about it. And it eventually came out as this movie.
And we have a trailer. So
great.
maybe we can take a quick look and see what the movie's about.
Sure.
Okay.
Things have gotten completely out of control. The children are all over the place.
Is it illegal to have a cheating device on your person inside a casino?
I don't believe you and I have been properly introduced.
The name's Bond. James Bond.
You risk your life, and we get 5 free 99-cent breakfasts.
Hey, first rule of show business, never turn down a free meal.
You certainly have some very unusual friends.
We could rehearse around your schedule.
No sawing in half.
You cost my boss $12,000. Now you gotta get the money or take it out of your face.
Oh, and his name's not James Bond. Billy Topit, Master Magician. Gotta go.
I think we should call the police.
The police were there. You got my money? Take action. Think about you, big hairy jerk.
It might have been a mistake.
I'm gonna try and lose these guys.
Oh!
Maybe you can make me disappear. Wouldn't that be a good one? I'm kidding.
So there's a lot of guest stars in the movie.
Yeah.
And as you can see, it's a comedy, it's a family movie, and the character Billy Topit is not a successful magician. He's stuck in that entry-level job of performing at children's birthday parties, but he dreams of having his own show in Las Vegas.
And that happens to most magicians. They kind of get stuck at
Well,
that
we all
entry
started.
level, right?
We
Yeah.
all. I started when I was about 10 or 12 years old. My first jobs were as a kid performing at children's birthday parties, and that's how just about every magician I know started.
Right.
And then you go on from there. But he's kind of stuck in that space in his career. But he really. And all of his friends, the same thing. They all perform. The jugglers and the
Right.
ventriloquists, they all perform for children's parties.
Right.
But they all, of course, dream of hitting the big time.
Right. And it has this little Ocean's 11 kind of feel to it, right?
Yeah, they have to. Yeah, so the girl gets kidnapped, and the magician and the jugglers and the ventriloquists have to rescue her.
Right. What makes Las Vegas such a great place to film and tape?
It's a very cinematic city. I mean, we have shots of the Strip. We have shots of the mountain and the desert. We took advantage of all of our different environments here in Las Vegas in shooting this movie. So it's really a fun place to shoot.
So when you're thinking of, sitting down to write something, you come up with I guess a broad concept, and then what's involved in fine-tuning that?
Well, we actually outlined the movie within a 2 or 3 hours. One night, I call up Michael Goudeau, who was my guest star for all those years at my show, and he's in the movie also, very funny comedy juggler. So I call him up and I said, Michael, what are you doing after work tonight? He says, nothing. I says, all right, come over to my house. You and I are going to write a feature film. And he says, okay. So we get over to my house after the shows, we order a pizza, and we sit there on the couch, and for like 2 hours, we just start throwing around ideas, and we came up with all the characters, and we outlined the movie with the whole plot, and then the rest was just, sitting at the computer, typing it out.
Does it change a lot? You started this years ago, and now you're looking at the finished product. Is there a lot of transition?
There are some things that changed, but you know what? This is my first time directing a feature film, so I tried to read as much as I could because I didn't have a lot of practical. I mean, I've directed and written stage shows and television specials, but a feature film's a little different animal. So I tried to get as much input as I could, and the thing that I always heard was, when you make a movie, you make it 3 times. The first time when you write the script, the second time when you shoot it, and the third time when you edit it. And so I've been involved in all 3 of those stages. So it's interesting to see how things evolve. Now, the thrilling part is when you write a scene and then you shoot it and you edit it and it turns out better
Oh, wow.
than what it was in your mind. when you wrote it.
Well, then you have good people around
And
you.
that's because usually when you write a scene, you have something in your mind that you see, but then when you get to the day you're shooting, the actors bring their own take on it. So the actors bring things in that you weren't expecting, and that's always a pleasant surprise.
Is that how you create illusions the same way? You kind of like visualize how you want it to go, how
That's
it
exactly right.
develops?
You got to have something in your brain that clicks with you personally. If you're going to invest a lot of time and money working on a magic trick or a movie or whatever, you have to be drawn to it personally.
So do you go with the end in mind and work backward? Or
That's a good question, and for a magic, it can be all of the above. I have worked on tricks that I knew what the ending was going to be, and so I had to work to get to there. And sometimes you only have a title. For instance, my good friend Mac King, he has a trick in his show called the Cloak of Invisibility. And he started with a title. And then he built a whole routine around that title. And then later on, after that was successful, I was talking to him later on, and I said, Mac, you know what you need? You need another cloak trick. He goes, what do you mean? I said, I don't know. The Cloak of Siegfried and Roy. And he laughed at the title, and he says, oh, that's a funny title. And so he worked out a trick based on the title.
Very cool. Well, and what a great guy he is.
Fantastic magician.
Oh, yeah. So you have a lot of, you said you have a lot of,
guest stars.
Guest stars.
On
Guest
the show.
stars.
Yeah, Louis Anderson
Louis,
does a cameo appearance.
right.
Chris Angel, cameo appearance. Frankie Shinta, Jeff McBride, Johnny Thompson, Robin Leach.
Jeez, you didn't ask Bobby Slayton or Ed Bernstein.
Bobby Slayton was so hard to get a hold of. I tried to get message after message to Bobby Slayton and never heard anything back. He's sitting back behind the camera.
He's here now.
Yeah.
Next movie. We have, I guess, a clip with you and Louis.
Yes. Now, in this clip, I know the clip you're talking about. Billy Topit has convinced the woman of his dreams, who is the waitress at the coffee shop, to be his assistant. And he's got a big gig, and they've rehearsed, and they've rehearsed, and they've rehearsed. And this is their first big gig together, and they've packed up the car, and they're driving to do this gig, and they get to the place, and that's the scene.
Turn the case sideways, we can make it a little more room. That's it. And the costume bag I'll place on top. Don't want to wrinkle the clothes. And the birds. We forgot the birds.
Right here. I'll hold them on my lap. It's gonna be okay. Just relax.
Why do people only tell you to just relax when it's impossible to relax?
And don't forget, when I say, here's something you don't see every day, you start the music.
Oh, it's in the bag with my costume. I packed it myself.
Okay. This is gonna be fine. This is gonna be good. Just relax.
Look. Is that it? Wow. Nice place.
Hi, Billy Topit, Master Magician.
Magician? Hey, can you do a trick for me?
Well, we brought the whole show.
Maybe you can make me disappear. Wouldn't that be a good one? I'm kidding. Hey, you got any rabbits back there?
Oh, yeah, rabbits.
I love rabbits, too. I'm kidding. If you ever get a lame one, though, let me know. Billy Topit, yes, sir. They have you set up in the East Room. Pull around to the right, and you can unload through the kitchen, Billy.
Thank you very much.
Have a good show.
Thank you.
Did you notice he called me sir?
They'll get too used to that, okay?
Look at that.
Yeah,
That's what I'm talking about, what the actors bring to the table. That rabbit joke, that wasn't in the script.
Right.
That was Louis on the set the day we were shooting and improvising.
Yeah.
So I left that in. That was just too funny. Louis is a very, very funny man.
Is it difficult to be acting and directing at the same time?
Very difficult. Very, very difficult. I love acting. I was a theater major in college, and I love directing. And when you're a magician, you have to do both. Because when you start out as a kid, you're writing the script, you're the actor, you're the director, you're the producer, so you kind of have to do both. But in a project like this, I love directing the scenes that I wasn't in. And there are a few that was much more pleasant than trying to direct a scene that I was in, because now your brain's split in two.
Right.
You've got to think as an actor, and you've got to think as a director, and you've got to hopefully try to do both at the same time.
But the good news is you get to do what you want to do.
Exactly.
Right?
You're having fun, but it's a collaborative effort. You've got the other actors on the set, you've got the crew, and they have ideas how to shoot things. So it really is truly a collaborative effort.
And you have a world premiere happening in Las Vegas,
In Las
right?
Vegas, we're going to have the world premiere right here in Las Vegas, September 24th at the Palms Hotel, Brendan Theaters. They're beautiful theaters. And the tickets can be gotten at billytopit.com. There's a link there. They're only $25 to come to the world premiere. Walk the red carpet. Oh, and if you ever want to saw your wife or husband in half, or boyfriend, girlfriend, bring them. We're going to have a thing set up on the red carpet where you can saw your significant other in half and get a photo with your phone.
Right, I love it.
So we're going to have that set up. And the best part is that all of the money that we're raising at the world premiere goes to 3 organizations very close to my heart here in Las Vegas. Nevada SPCA, which runs a no-kill animal shelter. Right. The Las Vegas Shriners, and they use the money for their transportation fund to transport the kids from Vegas to the Shriners Hospital in Los Angeles. And Variety, the children's charity of Southern Nevada, which does a whole bunch for kids, especially kids with medical problems and mentally and physically challenged.
Yeah, great stuff. Now that you're mentioning animals, what did you ever do with all your birds and rabbits that you use when you're out at the Monte Carlo?
I have the doves at home. They're all retired. The rabbit retired and went home with one of my assistants, and she had 2 other rabbits that lived in her yard.
And now you have a family.
And now,
rabbits.
now they have a family. And I've got a bunch of cats and dogs at home.
How long does it take to train a dove?
A few weeks, usually. The main thing is handling the animal so that they know that you're not going to hurt them, that they trust you. And I always tried to get the doves as young as possible, to start hand feeding them when they were, a few weeks old.
Isn't there like an aftermarket where you can, okay, now I'm done with the dove, I can sell it down to another magician?
Some magicians do, but my birds at that point were getting pretty old. Some of them were up over 20, 25 years old. So I figured, they worked all those years and I earned my living, so they deserve to have a retirement also.
So do you have animals now?
Yeah, I've got the doves.
Besides the doves?
And a parakeet still at home, and 2 dogs and a bunch of cats I rescued. And,
can you train a parakeet?
Yeah, I used a parakeet in the show. That was the little bird that went in the cage that floated in the air.
Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm still involved with animals.
I can't even get my parakeet to come over to the side of the cage.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah.
Right.
Again, you have to handle them every day.
But somebody once told me that pigeons are very intelligent birds.
Yes, pigeons are intelligent birds. They're much better flyers than doves. We used to have pigeons in the show that would fly from the stage back up to the light booth, or from the light booth down to the stage. Much stronger flyers than doves. Doves are more domesticated.
When you're working with rabbits and birds, how reliable are they?
Oh, very reliable. But like people, they'll have nights when they're not feeling good. So you have to always be aware of that. Especially like the female doves, if they're getting ready to lay an egg, I can tell just by their posture and picking them up how much they weigh. And so I had many, many nights where I'd pick up a bird and go, I think she's going to lay an egg. I'm going to leave her out of the show. I'm going to use the backup tonight.
Okay.
But I did have that happen once. Produced a dove, flew out into the audience.
Right.
landed in a lady's lap, laid an egg,
No, come on.
and flew back to the stage.
How funny.
Yeah.
How funny. What a unbelievable scene. My God. This Billy Topit, where'd you get the name?
It's an inside joke
Okay.
for magic. All of the magicians will know what it means. People who aren't magicians won't know what
We're
it
not going
means.
to disclose it
No,
here?
I can't disclose that information. I'm sorry. I could
Okay.
tell you, but then I'd have to kill you.
Uh-oh. You magicians are all like.
We have to keep our secrets.
What do you think about some of these other movies? And there's been a couple in the last few years that magicians have appeared in. There's one in the last. What's one that was filmed here?
The last few years, there's been
one in New York and one in Vegas.
Yeah, there have been several, over the years, there have been many movies featuring magician characters. I kind of have a pet peeve about magicians appearing in movies and TV shows, and it's because I'm a magician, so.
Hypercritical, I would think.
Yeah, of course. So my pet peeve was always, why do they always have to be the evil, the bad guy? Why can't they be a hero? That was one. Number two is, why can't the magician being portrayed on screen, why can't he do magic? Why do you always have to fall back to using CGI? So those are kind of personal preferences.
So the illusions and the tricks that
Oh,
you
yeah.
perform here are all you.
All the magic is all practical
Yeah.
magic, and we didn't have a budget for the CGI.
And what do you what's going on with magicians? The only time I really get to see them anymore is like America's Got Talent or a show like that.
There's a lot of magic out there now on TV. America's Got Talent has a lot of magicians.
Right.
Penn and Teller has Fool Us
right,
that's
yeah,
running now. Michael Carbonaro has a show on cable. There's another show that I just heard about recently, and the name escapes me now, but there's several shows on basic cable that are running.
It seems like there's a big difference when you watch it on television compared to live.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean,
sure.
You're always a little suspect
You're always,
on TV.
Magic's always better
Yeah.
live, always, always. When I worked on a magic trick for my show, I always tried to keep in mind, how is this going to play on television? Can I use this? If you have a trick that you can do live and you can do on TV, then that's great. You got something. But some things just don't translate on television.
I was watching America's Got Talent last night, watching the magician do a card trick, and I was replaying frame by frame by frame. Is that the death for some magicians?
You're that guy. Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's I still couldn't figure it out. I guess my machine doesn't go back slow enough, frame by frame.
Well, to me, when I watch magic on television, to me, it's not about figuring out the trick. It's the presentation.
Right.
Does the magician engage me as an audience member? That's what you always look for. And for movies also, speaking of movie, one of my favorite movies that came out was a few years ago was The Prestige. Was very good. And Hugh Jackman was one of the magicians. And the guys that did the magic advising on that movie were Ricky Jay and Michael Weber, friends of mine. And when they were preparing for the movie, they sent Hugh Jackman in to see my show. So he came in one night and brought his family, and I didn't get to talk to him that night because they had to run to another show I think they were seeing, but I talked to him the next day on the telephone, and he was a very, very nice guy, and he did a terrific job in the movie.
You have any other movies in that mind of yours?
Let's see. I was also involved recently in another film. The guy that played the bad guy here, Rory Johnston, who's here in the poster, the guy in the red jacket there. He's the bad guy in my movie. He's a good friend of mine, and we've been friends for about 30 years. He recently wrote and directed a film called Guard Dog, and he asked me to come on board as executive producer. So I was involved with it, and I played a cameo role in his movie. It seems like I've been involved in a few little things. Oh, and a couple years ago, I also worked on a movie called Oz the Great and Powerful.
Right.
I was the magical advisor and taught James Franco to do the magic in that movie.
Right.
So that was a fun experience.
Does James Franco still have an interest in magic? Or?
I think he's a very good student, and he studied really hard, and he did a terrific job in the movie. But he's a very busy actor. I think he's been on to his next project and his next project.
Right. But it's an amazing thing about acting is you pick up, and I kind of, in a lot of ways it's similar to being a lawyer. I mean, every case is different, and you learn about the science or the evidence or the theories behind a particular thing. It's the same thing with an actor. I mean, you take up involving magic, and you learn a little bit about magic. Your next one may be about, forensics.
Sure.
You learn about forensics. It's very interesting.
And then maybe you learned a sword fight in a movie.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
You learn to shoot a bow and arrow in a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's definitely an interesting profession. Well, I didn't have to learn too many new skills because I already, had the magic thing down.
Right, but it takes a lot of discipline to write, and then there's a lot of business finesse in
Yes.
getting something from your mind onto the screen. And it's a credit to you that you did it.
I'm so happy to be at the finish line now. I was reading a statistic the other day that for independent films, what this is, we don't have a studio or anything behind us. For independent films, 99% of them never get made.
Right.
If you write a script, 99% never start production. The ones that do start production, 99% of them never get finished.
Unbelievable. So you're against all odds.
So I already feel
Lance,
like I've won the jackpot just because we got the movie finished.
Lance Burton, the name of the movie is Billy Topit. It's at the Palms Theater. What's the date, September when?
September 24th.
September 24th.
Everyone's welcome to come.
Tickets at lanceburton.com or billytopit.com.
Absolutely.
See you guys next week.
Time can change many things, but what doesn't change is our commitment to serve you.
So if you've been injured in an accident, or if you need help in your Social Security or workers' comp case, we can get you the best possible result.
Enough said. Call Ed. EdBernstein.com.